Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. It's Marv and Walter, and we are going to do our top 10 songs of 2022. How are you, Marv?
Hi.
Are you good?
Great.
Fantastic. Well,
Getting to that time of year.
it's getting that time of year. We're rounding up the end of 2022.
Rounding up the era of 2014. I cannot believe we're hitting 2023. I remember when we were a year before Back to the Future's 2015 anniversary, and it was like, I can't believe it's 2015. And now we're like 8 years past that.
We are considerably past that. So this is our 2022 sort of, I don't think it's a music roundup. It's just us picking some songs that we enjoyed from that year.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that we would choose our top 10 combined songs that we liked for the 2022 year. And some are new, some are maybe reissued releases, but they were all released this year.
Now, it must be said, we went pop. We went songs that actually were in the pop charts.
Except for a couple. I've got two that were on the border. Three.
Yeah, I suppose so. And I suppose technically a couple of mine weren't like massive hits. Yeah. But, you know, I thought to myself, I could go and find some really cool obscure albums that I liked this year and be cool. But I was like, no, I want to take songs that people probably heard on the radio and showcase and highlights that, you know, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. I know there's a lot of, you kids of today, but it's not all bad. Hey, it could always be better.
I feel like it's the year of bass.
The year of bass.
Going through all of these when we were just prepping, everything had a very specific low end.
Well, why don't you go first?
A couple of them.
Choose one to illustrate that point.
Let's see. Okay, so my first song for this year, and probably my favorite song of the year, is the Lizzo track About Damn Time. And I feel that Lizzo is my favorite pop dance, great feel-good artist of the last couple of years. She's always positive. She's always happy. The music is always positive where you want to dance. And I feel like with the world and the position it's in, we don't need any more super negative stuff. And sometimes it's just way too fun to oversaturate yourself with positive music. So the reason why I liked it, it does have a feel of that late 70s to mid 80s dance, kind of really punchy, really glassy sounding mix as well. And the drums, the sound, everything kind of has a timeless vibe to it, but still sounds very, very modern. And it's one of those things that did remind me of like Off the Wall, Michael Jackson, where the songs are just positive. You could have a really shoddy day or week and you put on a song like this that it just should uplift you. So let's take a peek.
Anyway!
And the bass guitar. This is the year of bass for me. But the reason why it sticks with me is because it makes you want to dance. So if you have a bad day, you just put something like that on.
Amazing. All right. I'm going to go for my first cheating song. We have a few cheating songs, but this one's cheating because it's Adele's Easy on Me, which was it the first single off the album? I think it was.
Is it 30?
30, yeah.
Yeah.
So it is listed as coming out in 2021, but it was still a hit in 2022. I think it was actually #1 in many countries at the time. It's absolutely fantastic songs. Greg Kurstin and her, again, like Someone Like You. He plays piano on it. He plays the drums, which I think is just kick and snare or something. It's only 2 elements. Bass guitar as well and piano. And
you said Tom Elmhurst mixed it?
Tom Elmhurst mixed it, yeah. Well, I think, first of all, #1, listen to the song. It's absolutely superb song. But listen to the vocal. It's like on the edge, distorted the whole time.
She has those overtones.
Yeah, tons of overtones, really enhanced. It's very compressed, but not in a clamped kind of, it's just got
mistake
that
way.
Yeah. You hear tons of attack on every single phrase. It's a really unique vocal sound. For a piano vocal, essentially it's a piano vocal song until about halfway through when Greg starts incorporating production elements. he drove the vocal. If it's plugins or console.
There ain't no ghost.
The Waves BB2.
Before that,
That I've been washing my hands in.
I just think it's honestly just,
I know
it's hitting the console hard. A lot,
yeah.
a lot of a lot, like EQ hard, compression hard.
to swim when I am drowning in this.
But the big thing is the piano has a lot of dynamics,
Yeah.
and her voice is just like you can hold it in your hand.
Easy, hold me, baby. I was still a child.
It's
Didn't get the chance to.
The other thing to think about is a lot of these songs that we were going through,
Around me.
all the reverbs are changing throughout the song. The modern songs, they're all changing constantly. They're evolving with the song. They go dry or wet. They do a lot of throws, but it used to be delays were the throws. And I feel like now there's a lot of just reverb, long reverb throws.
love that bass line coming in there. So it's just pushing it along.
There ain't no room for things to change when we are.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is the year of the bass. Here's the piano vocal with a bass line pushing it along.
When she pushes, you can hear it clamping, but it's always working in a good way.
So much personality.
Pretty cool.
So much personality. I really like that mix. I mean, I would be a little
You've
afraid.
chosen, there's a handful of your songs that the songs just kind of go.
Yeah.
And they don't really, and maybe that's a good thing. I mean, we saw that with a couple of these other ones where they're just like, there's not really evolving. And I think people used to make mistakes with pulling you out of a place where you were supposed to be in this headspace and you get into this song and then you leave it. And we've gotten to a society now where everything has to change every 2 seconds. So that instead of putting so much
I still
stuff
love
in it,
old school songs.
but this song never takes off.
Yeah.
And that's
It's her vocals
probably a
driving it.
pretty good thing.
All right, what's your next one?
Number 8. So my second choice for this year is a special song, my OneRepublic track, because I know somebody else decided to choose one.
I mean, independently both chose OneRepublic tracks.
Yeah. Based off of one close person who is obsessed with OneRepublic. So I decided to include one of these. And actually, this is my favorite from this album. And this is West Coast.
I've been dreaming about the West Coast. Found some faces that I don't know.
There are 2 versions of this.
Give me the sun for
This is the single.
Yeah, there's one that there's actually a real drums versus it being programmed.
I've been staring up at the grayest skies, trying to find myself some luck, but
Ryan's just so good.
it's like the weather makes it worse than my cloudy mind. I could really
Another song about the bass melodic following the melodic of the vocal.
Cool. Well, you know what? Then I'm just going to go. We'll do OneRepublic again. So this is I Ain't Worried, and this is from Top Gun, the movie, which is Maverick, I think it was called. And what's interesting about it is it uses a bit of this Peter, Bjorn, and John tracks.
Yeah, we were listening to the playback, and I'm going, wait a second. This is very familiar to that Young Folks track.
So that so that the whistle and that. Now let's go to
Right there.
I Ain't Worried here.
I ain't worried. I mean, how do you get away with whistling?
So they use a bit of the whistle.
You've been told, but time is
So it's not exactly the same, but you can tell it's very influenced.
Inspired, maybe?
And so much so that
Another bass thing following around.
keeping dreams alive. 1999 heroes. I ain't worried about
I mean, Ryan is one of the best songwriters in the world, and you hear his influences and tracks. He wears them on his sleeve. He has no problem.
Yeah, but John Lennon did the same.
Yeah,
Which is the whole point of,
Keith Richards.
right.
Keith Richards said he would just listen to the radio and classic songs, and then come back and write.
heroes.
Great. He's a great writer, a great singer. Great human being. When he won his first Grammy, I did a lot of recording with him, with Ryan back in the day, and I do vocal recording for him. And when he won the Grammy on the first single or first record,
The Timberland one?
yeah, the Apologize. Yeah, I mean, Timberland added a different kick and snare. If you listen to the other version, it's exactly the same. It just has this different kick and snare.
It's got the Timberland touch.
Yeah. And he called me, and Mike and I were in, I think we were in Denver with the Fray, and he called and said like, oh, thanks, you know, I've got my Grammy and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. I imagine he called like 100 people, but that's the kind of guy he is. He just like called everybody that he knew and had worked with him. In fact,
he's a community guy, I've heard, where he'll try to bowl as many people as he can. And but just going between those two, those could have been maybe in the same 6-month writing projects and stuff. But
he probably wrote 100 songs in that 6 months.
Yeah.
He's a workaholic.
Yeah.
Insanely talented. So what's next?
Number 6, my new favorite, Omar Apollo is definitely one of my new favorite. I would say it wouldn't be gospel, and it wouldn't be soul, it wouldn't be low indie, which reminds me of like indie with some soul in it. I was telling Warren earlier that I hear even little Michael Jackson at the end of some of his phrases, just a little bit with a little Sam Cooke. But the sonic presentation of EverGreen, which is one of my top favorite songs of this year, and the album it's specific is so good, Ivory, is so good that it just has this familiar vibe when it comes down to it. But again, the bass is doing something very magical. The drums, the snare, a lot of space. It's not overly compressed, but it still sounds modern.
Sure.
But another one of these songs where the reverb is changing, and it's in a tasteful way, where it's very organic sounding reverbs and stuff. So let's take a peek. EverGreen.
I mean, that's a great effect there. But it's so classic soul, isn't it? It just sounds like a classic track.
Evergreen, he controls me. Was there something wrong with my body?
There's your Michael right there.
Am I not what you wanted, babe? If I ever
It's really interesting.
If I ever tried,
I feel like the drums are edited a specific. I might be wrong. It just could be whoever's playing. But the pickup on the kick drums so tight that it almost sounds like it's over edited on purpose.
doesn't even have to try.
Another space out with the bass doing this melodic sculpture.
She don't know you.
There's like 4 different types of spring reverb on this that are not the same.
She could never
The snare sounds like a spring.
God bless digital for that kind of detail that we can do now. We can do so much stuff.
This is in my opinion, this is a perfect representation of taking something old
I pray that you
and having it work in a new era.
Agreed. Yeah, it sounds retro enough, but also modern. So
But compressed and very upfront. The snare is almost above the vocal, which I like.
amazing. Really great. All right, my next one is Lewis Capaldi. And Lewis is, for those not from the UK or Europe, maybe he's not that well known over here, but he's an incredible Scottish singer. I just love his.
And I never heard of him until you were playing it, and I kept going, what accent is that? Because he has this, like, it's very apparent, and it's almost the similar thing with the Adele voice, where there's some overdrive going on with his voice, subharmonic stuff.
It's a great track. To me, it's a country song. It's not country
Like modern country writing.
Yeah, the writing. Yeah.
Is very structured.
Yeah.
nights are long, 2 years and still you're not gone. Guess I'm still holding on.
Another bass dancing.
Oh yeah.
Somehow it doesn't hurt. I did every
Great setup for a pre-chorus.
To find out you know how to forget me.
Yeah, same
The
drive.
overdrive, it's, yeah.
Much you regret me. And pray to
The thing, the safe part about this,
me.
I feel like 5 years ago, there'd be a ton of delay processing and stuff going underneath it. But this is just one of those things, another song that's just going.
Yeah.
Very spatial.
But after all, it still wrecks me. To find out you know how to
Fantastic.
forget me.
Yeah, just a really
Is the whole album that
great-
good?
Yeah. Yeah, that was just my favorite single he put out that year. But he's just a good, great, talented singer-songwriter. God bless him. Yeah, and you're right. He has such an interesting sound to his voice. Like Adele, there's so much personality. I'm really big on accents. We work with singers sometimes from other countries, and they're like, "I want to sound American," and I'm like, "No, just sound," because I think now there's such a saturation. We're looking for different voices.
Yeah.
You know,
My favorites are always British accents or that kind of island Irish accent that you can hear just a slight, like Badly Drawn Boy has a pretty rough accent, but when you hear it, when his voice and singing, it just instantly, it's same as David Gray, it just sells it for me way more.
Yeah.
Speaking of classics,
Yep.
this
What's your next one?
is my next guy. This is an interesting choice only because it was one of those project albums that I think he put together with a numerous amount of team players, because this guy, T-Bone Burnett, always does. Instead of it being traditionally like a pop song, because we've had a lot of those, the album that I was listening to, which is The Invisible Light Spells by T-Bone Burnett, is kind of like this kind of, I wouldn't call it T-Bone Burnett meets Brian Eno in the sense of this spatial thing, but things just kind of go in this like soundtrack land where you're just putting it on and listening. And I found myself at least a dozen times this year just putting on the whole record because it is not necessarily, I don't know, we'll just take a listen to this project because it's a really cool album. And I felt like the character, the song, that sonic character, which T-Bone always puts a big thumbprint on, just has this vibe. And the song I chose today was A Better Day. So we're going to take a peek on that. But just think about this when you're just kind of taking the day off and just putting on some headphones and letting the sun hit your face, because this is what I would do. So I'd put the headphones on and just take it.
I want that day.
You can take them.
No. One day, maybe.
You might have to level match these with the others because it is T-Bone and he is very tasteful with his dynamics.
In another place, in another time, speaking face to
Again, an atmosphere album for sure.
I can see the end, I can see the start, nothing.
So Jay Bellerose and Kefas Sinicala were the team with T-Bone. You remember the Firemen? Paul McCartney and the other fella? It kind of has that kind of thing where it's just like, they just go. It's the atmosphere. A lot of you guys are going to be like, this sucks.
Wasn't that Youth?
What?
Youth.
The other guy?
Yeah, Paul McCartney.
I think
Youth.
so, yeah. Fireman? Firehouse? But this album is one of those just coasters. So take a day off, take an afternoon off. Before the sun goes down, put on your headphones, close your eyes, let the sun kiss your skin. Even if it's cold, do it inside through the window.
Well, I'm going to go. That's probably the most mainstream track. I mean, I suppose OneRepublic's mainstream, but I really like this song. This is T Swift, as Eric likes to say, Taylor Swift with Lana Del Rey, and Snow on the Beach. I just think it's a beautiful mood piece and a great melody. I thought it was my favorite song on the record. I thought it was the best song on the album. I think there was a couple
This is
other
on
songs.
the Midnights project?
Yeah, I think there was a couple other songs that were much bigger hits, but this was definitely my favorite. I love the mood of this track.
another just coaster where it didn't seem to go and take
Jack
off.
Antonoff again. Co-wrote, co-produced with Taylor.
Killer. He's been doing a lot of cool stuff lately.
He's stupidly talented.
One night, a few moons ago,
I like how it just comes in with a melody that you're like,
what could have been like.
committed melody. Not like a mumble, 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 wait for the chorus. Da, ba, 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 da. It's like,
Unbeknownst to me, life is
Problem with Taylor Swift is
abusive.
she can write
Can't stop
something
quite like
so annoying
flight.
that you can't get it out of your head no matter what. So I'll be taking the trash out and it'll just be like, and then it will I will get so frustrated, which is the It's Me, the single that came from this album.
yeah.
It was
Which I
so,
thought
but
about.
that's what's so good about it. It's like,
It's Me's great. I
oh,
love
it
it.
drives me crazy.
I'm also a fan of Lana Del Rey.
It's coming
She's-
down, no sound.
Her first album in the UK was huge.
Oh, there's a good cuss word in this.
Oh yeah, there is a curse word.
Snow on the beach. Like snow on the beach.
Did we miss it?
Maybe we talked about it.
This scene feels like
Anyway, Total Nude piece, which I suppose followed on nicely from your last one.
But that we're finding that to be the case on even the Adele song
Yeah.
that just went.
Yeah.
You would think again another song that would just go right into this explosion where it's like taken off to a solo or drum explosion, and it does it.
a contest and to
I just enjoy music like that. Yeah. I think Jack Antonoff is incredibly talented. Taylor. I have a daughter. For those of you who have daughters, I have an 8-year-old daughter. Taylor Swift is an incredible role model for women, like for young women. She's never over-sexualizes, ever. She is a badass when it comes to like doing business. She holds her head high, and she's just a great role model for women. I'm a huge fan. All right,
Yeah, we
next.
got a nice mixture of.
We
both
have got
sides here.
pretty much every genre. We didn't. There's no rap or hip hop in there, but
Chromeo is one of my favorite team guys, two guys that have been around for a very long time that just produce just amazing dance, positive, with incredible sounds. And they teamed up with Blue D Tiger, who's this phenomenal female bass player, just phenomenal. Another bass project. And this is called Enough for You, and it's a very positive, uplifting song. But the amount of low-end hits on the 1 and the 4 gets me every time. Now, this came out in an EP. I think they did 2 songs for this EP together. I think it was called Bluetooth, but BLU tooth, like Blue Tiger.
I love that 70s funk is back. I mean, it never went away in my household.
But this is like literally a bass doing melodic stuff, but then having the super sub on the ones, almost stretching over.
Fantastic.
Pretty great.
So, I think if anybody who's ever watched a video that I've done was to ask what the last 2 songs I could have picked for this year would be, these would be the most 2 obvious songs. So we're going to go super obvious here. Yes, it's Queen's Face It Alone. It's the...
So they release, I'm confused. They've never released this song. It was from their last album.
It was from The Miracle. It was recorded, I believe, in 91. Anyway, over 30 years.
I mean, you can tell Freddie Mercury was very tired in this until he started pushing. And then you're like, there he is. But you could still just hear it.
Yeah.
But it is a really cool song. And
it's-
the guitar, Brian May's guitar that comes in was like, oh, there he is. There he is.
Oh, yeah. It's, I presume it's like an MXR flanger or something. I don't know what he was using in those days. The aficionados can tell me. Great guitar tone, harmonics all over the place, tons of great harmonics. And then, of course, the solo playing is just impeccable. His bends, his vibrato is just pitch perfect and just so expressive. So Freddie Mercury's voice, I think even being, even as ill as he was and as close to death as he was, is just so emotional.
that is them playing racquetball.
Maybe. Black harmonics.
Is that his electric guitar?
Yeah.
With a mic on the electric, do you
Yeah, I think he must be doing this.
And then have a condenser on it too?
Yeah, maybe. He's just tapping it like this.
Something so near.
He's either tapping it an octave higher or doing this. Might be doing,
Explode.
Pinches.
You feel
Yeah.
your soul is set on fire.
Sometimes people just tap it like this. You can activate the harmonic.
Things so deep and so far and wide falls down.
Great sound, bass. So this is
Can be heard.
is this a new mix though?
So
I'm sure they
Enhanced the mix?
clean it up a bit because Brian said it was.
your life is
He didn't think it was ever going to be. They could rescue it, like meaning it probably had some issues that had to be fixed. And now with modern technology, you can clean anything up.
Definitely a 250 on the snare.
you have to face it all alone.
Kind of, I can hear a little Dream On in there.
Yeah, maybe.
A little bit of Aerosmith's Dream
Yeah.
On in there.
Yeah. So I'm sure those that knew I was gonna pick that song. Just
Very
had to.
good.
And then the last one, you were all gonna guess what it is anyway. But
So that was our thing. The bonuses were songs that could have been from yesteryear, but they were released again this year in some way. And of course, we all know I'm going to choose a Beatles song due to the fact that they reissued Revolver. But, and I was talking to Warren about this and Eric, so my favorite song on the entire reissue of Revolver is the Take 15 outtake of She Said, She Said.
great drum sound.
I believe it's the same take as the final. This is just the instrumental, but the way it's put together, it sounds so much larger than life than even the new mix. It's the same take, it's the same time period to do the mix, but they're very different sounding. So take a listen, go on Apple Music, go on whatever you're listening, and go find the Take 15. And listen how much bigger it sounds than the album. And
There's just less things going on.
yeah, maybe that's it.
Less
The
vocal.
vocals aren't taking everything down.
No double guitars. The lead riff isn't doubled.
But I feel like
And
just
the drums are massive.
as the whole presentation of
ringing
the song, yeah, it sounds so much more real. I'm thinking, God, if I could have gotten the album remixed, that
Well,
sounded
Revolver's
like
almost like an indie rock album.
that. Right. It's very lo-fi almost, dirty. And that was probably because I think Jeff Emmerich was like 18.
He was 19 when he did it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So anyways, you have to fast forward a bit or you're just going to hear the beautiful boys goofing around.
Last track.
Just listen how open the bass, how deep the bass is. And I believe this was also in Studio 3.
Yeah, which they isn't.
Way smaller room.
Yeah, it's not. It's not Studio 3 anymore, unfortunately.
Knowing how that album was put together and all the generations they stacked on it, if you go back and listen to the original, which we did earlier, it's like, even though the Jeff Emmerich's mixes were known for being very drum heavy and loud, there was still this kind of telephony artifact of that album that changed dramatically on the next album.
Well, this last song of mine is incredibly obvious if you're ever watched any videos, because one of my favorite artists. And it is all due to Stranger Things that it became a hit in America, because it was, I don't believe at the time this was a particularly big hit over here. It was a massive single
So 85,
in England, huge single.
I remember the first time hearing this song as a kid, I used to go to the Boys and Girls Club, but they used to play these really sappy, cheesy radio stations on the PA speakers. I mean, I'm thinking like Journey and Don Henley and all that era, 88, 86. So this song came out in 85, but I remember hearing it in 86, 88, 89. And it was the only time I really knew who Kate Bush was. It's just funny, this is the remaster and it still sounds exactly like it did then.
Probably just a little bit more oomph and a bit louder, a bit more low end and a bit louder.
We all know this song.
We all know this song. Running Up That Hill, masterpiece.
So this was recorded
in her parents' barn.
And that's a drum loop.
Yeah.
And then
with the soundtracks console, the soundtracks 24 channel, and it was mixed. I don't know who mixed this, I forgot, but most of the album was mixed by her and the engineers just on fader. But Fairlight. A lot of Fairlights.
I mean, I would say this is probably one of the best placed songs in television history.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue on that.
Because it worked. And we were talking about, they used a version that was kind of trailerized or re-enhanced, and it still worked.
Again, as you were saying, it's just this. It's the vocal that's carrying it.
And maybe that's a good thing now that we're enjoying the idea that all these modern songs, and then this song that's almost 40 years old, just goes, creates the atmosphere. Maybe atmosphere music should be a thing, even in pop music. The bass doesn't change. It doesn't even change.
The floor tom, yeah.
What was the song you were mentioning earlier? Babushka? So that was one of her first singles?
It was much earlier than this, yeah. But she was still, I don't know how old she was, but she was still super young.
Yeah.
Mid early 20s at this point. Several albums in, but still really young. Insanely talented. Produced this. Credited so much of this on her own with the Fairlight.
It works.
Unbelievable. Yeah, such an expressive singer. Incredible production. I remember when this came out, I obsessed. I had the vinyl and I
had the tape?
No, I didn't have a tape. I had it on vinyl and I listened to like the first side for weeks before I flipped it over to the second. And then I listened to the second for weeks. And it's still an album I listen to till this day.
Obviously, my head goes to Stranger Things again. But that season was pretty good until that scene. And then it just went hugely well because that was couple before the finale. Just listening to it, I can think of the scene, but the scene works in my head and it makes me think about what she went through and all the, what am I talking about? Sadie. What's her name? Max in the show. Right. It's great, but that's what it's supposed to do.
Fantastic. Mark, or Marv. Sorry, Marv.
Sorry, Walter.
Walter and Marv. Well, it's been a fun year for music. It's been a fun year.
Maybe next year is more the year of the atmosphere instead of the year of the bass or something. And maybe we're leaning in more to a new kind of sound where everyone's just going into this trancey thing. But either way, I would say, take a listen to some of these. Pretty hot stuff.
Yeah, all incredible singers. I think that's the thing with all of these is the singers are all amazing. And a couple are some of the greatest singers.
Right.
Freddie Mercury, Kate Bush. I think Lizzo's an incredible singer. Lewis Capaldi's voice is unbelievable. Ryan Tedder is a heck of a singer.
You know who's a really good singer that didn't make it on this? John Lennon.
He should have sang on that song.
I should have chose the one where he's singing. Yeah. But it was that good that you didn't even need to hear him sing.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Christmas.
Happy
festives. Holidays. Thanks ever so much. Oh, and Happy New Year.
Happy.
Happy. From Marv and Walter.